All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the St. Louis Rockets versus St. Peter's B1. This is a different B1 team than we played the other day. It's really loud in here. Let's see how this goes. The Rockets lose a faceoff, then cover it back in the neutral zone. Now it's sent back deep by St. Peter's. Young behind the net, sends it up the boards to Alexander. Now Hellwig. Now St. Peter's gets it in the middle of the zone. Now shot bounces off the back of the net. St. Peter's at the point, pinches in. Now Giorgio out in front. Puck flipped up to him. He's got a chance, but can't quite get there before St. Peter's does. Now Salmon's in the neutral zone, flips it over to the other side of the ice. St. Peter's collects themselves. They entered the zone. They got Salmons there in between them. Shot goes wide. Now Rockets heading back the other way. McLaughlin passes it up to Gross. Gross takes it into the zone. He circles behind the net. He's looking. He's got Downs in front of the net, in front of the goal. Now St. Peter's recovers and sends it around the horn where Benoit is there to send it back deep again. Benoit from the point. He sends it across the ice, but Salmons was kind of playing back, and so they lose the zone. Salmons collects it and sends it across the ice deep into the zone again. He goes for a line change. St. Peter's picks up the puck and takes it into the neutral zone. Now Ryleman chases after it. Wagner follows in on defense now. St. Peter's collects the puck. They're heading back the other way. He's got some speed. Throws the puck past Follis and into the corner. Now they center it, but nobody's there. Wagner there to intercept it. Now from the slot shot. Another shot's deflected out in front by Follis. Now Akins rushes over to get the puck. Rockets trying to clear the zone. They can't do it. Now at the point again for St. Peter's. Sends it back in deep. Now Rama picks it up on the corner of the boards. He centers it over to Kai. But not quite crisp enough pass for them to take it into to advance it any further. Now Ryleman again. He loses it to St. Peter's, who circles around inside their own zone with Kai chasing. Marburger's now in with Young and Gardner on defense. Parrish with the shot, quick shot, bounces off. Marburger's right there to try to get the rebound, but bounces all the way back and off the stick and then goes into the neutral zone and back behind. Shot from the point, gets deflected out in front, goes wide right. Rockets send it back up to the point for St. Peter's. He sends it back deep again. Young behind the net. He flips it up. To Jansen. Jansen now to Parrish. Parrish over to Marburger. They enter the zone. Now Parrish tries to get a shot there. Goes up and over. Gardner holds to the blue line. And now the Rockets lose it. Salmon's in on defense now. That's going to be icing on St. Peter's with 10:05 left in the first period. Face off, Hellwig. He sends it over to St. Peter's, who sends it back in towards the zone. Salmons can't quite hold the line. Now Benoit. He sends it up the ice to Giorgio, to Hellwig. Now the Rockets get it into the neutral zone. Giorgio's chasing after it. Interference, but they do. It's going to be interference on St. Peter's. It's going to send them to the box for a penalty and a Rockets power play with 9:42 left in the first. Hellwig on the face-off with Giorgio and Alexander in on the line. Salmon's Benoit on defense. Salmons takes a big whiff on a shot there. Now Benoit's in between them. Benoit makes the play. Alexander was back checking, gets it back into the neutral zone. Now St. Peter's sends it in deep. Hellwig sends it around the corner. Oh, it gets hung up. Now Giorgio has got two guys in front of him. He makes a move, sends it on the boards, and heads around into the zone. He's got a shot. And he does take a shot. It gets deflected out in front. Now St. Peter's is heading back the other way. Benoit gets it in the neutral zone. He turns it around. Back to Giorgio again. 24 seconds left in the penalty. Now Follison on defense with Gross, Downs, and McLaughlin. Now Wagner's in to join him. Centered by St. Peter's. Shot gets deflected by the stick out in front, and then does make its way to Mormon, where he covers it. 8:12 left in the first period. Face off back to St. Peter's, and point shot, but doesn't get much on it. Goes to McLaughlin, who sends it across the ice. Now Follis picks it up. Follis rips one from the point. It gets deflected out in front. Now St. Peter's sends it into the zone. Wagner sends it in deep, left of the net. Now Akins enters the zone. He's got Rahman behind him. Now Young from the point. He sends it back in deep. Rifles around the boards where Young now sends it wide left from the point. Rallman was right there, but couldn't quite capitalize on another shot there. Now Aikens behind the net. Back to Young. He loses the zone. Now St. Peter's has a chance here to shot. Nope, they get pushed outside. Now Gardner in front of the net. He sends it up to Kai. Now Aikens sends it over to Rallman again, who sends it in deep and goes for a line change. St. Peter's picks it up behind their net. 5:45 left in this period. Salmons passes it up to Marburger. Now back to Salmons. He sends it across the ice, but only St. Peter's is there to grab it. Benoit on the stick sends it back into the neutral zone again. Now Jansen with the puck into the zone. He's got Parrish with him. Tries to make a pass, but it's intercepted by St. Peter's. Puck center on the edge of the boards. Salmons holds the blue line, and then they lose it to St. Peter's, who heads back the other way. Now shot deflected off Moorman's leg and sent back into the neutral zone now. Now pass from Salmons to Jansen. Jansen sends it up so Parrish can get it, but dive by St. Peter's D keeps anything from happening there. They send it back into the neutral zone again. Now there's a foot race between Follis and St. Peter's. He gets there first and cuts it off. Now Alexander with the puck. He's got Parrish at center. He makes a move. Parrish goes for a line change. St. Peter's gets the puck, sends it around to Follis. He sends it on net. Deflected out in front by the defense of St. Peter's. Now St. Peter's heads back into the neutral zone and flips it in deep, and they go for a line change. Wagner sends one in, and then he goes for a line change. Now St. Peter's is headed back the other way. Gardner, Young on defense. Gardner pushes it outside, makes the puck go in, and Young's there to push it back out. Now Giorgio picks it up in the neutral zone. He's got a one-on-one. He shoots it, and it gets on net right out in front of the goal. Gross tries to do a wraparound and gets another shot. 3:10 left in the period. McLaughlin on the puck, sends it across, and now St. Peter's puts it into the neutral zone where Young flips it in. Now Gardner with the puck, he sends it into the neutral zone. Now McLaughlin sends it in deep. 2:40. Now up to Gardner at the point. He sends it in deep to Gross. Rallman rifles it in and gets a shot on goal. Now Aikens, Rallman, Kai in on offense with Benoit and Salmons in on defense. Back to Salmons at the point. He passes it to Aikens right in the slot, who can't quite get the shot off. They're going to call icing on Aikens, or I mean offsides on Aikens. 1:34 left in this first period. Not a lot of breaks so far. Aiken's on the draw. He sends it across the ice. Wagner chases after it. He flips it in deep. And that's going to be offsides on the Rockets again. Now Aiken's on the draw at center ice. St. Peter's ends up with the puck in the neutral zone. They skate into the zone and then are pushed outside. Centered to the defense, he shoots it. And glove saved by Mormon with 1:13 left in the first. Parrish now on the face-off. Now back to the point. Shot bounces off the leg pad of Mormon and over to the right. Now center pass to Parrish. He's got Marburger with him, but they lose the zone and St. Peter's heads back the other way. Now Follis advances it up. Parrish chases after him. Marburger hanging out in front of the net, but we couldn't get a pass to him. Now he gets his foot on it. Back to Wagner now. Now a pass to Parrish, who sends it across the ice. Into the zone. Follis chases after it. Jansen's right there. Now back to the point. Follis shot. Dribbles in and goes to the pads of the goalie where he covers it with 19 seconds left in the period. Face off to St. Peter's behind their net now. Jansen can't get there in enough time. Now Follis to Parrish to Jansen. And St. Peter's sends it in. No icing. And that'll do it for the end of the first period, where we're all tied up. Start the second period. Hellwig's in with Alexander, Giorgio, Salmons, and Benoit. Face off back to the Rockets, but then controlled by St. Peter's. Little backhand shot gets on net, but Mormon saves it. Salmons makes a pass up to Giorgio, but he can't quite get a stick on it. It's going to be off icing on the Rockets. Giorgio was really close to being able to get that one. I don't think he liked that, Herb. McLaughlin on the face-off. Back to St. Peter's. They rip one and bounces off the leg of Mormon. Gross sends it into the zone off the boards. Now Gardner has it and flips it back against the boards there, where Gross just gets onside. He tries to get a good check there, but misses. Gardner steps up. Now Young. He sends it on net, and it's glove saved by the goalie and held for a face-off inside their zone. Face-off Aikens over to Rahman, back to Young, who rips one and it goes off the goalie's pads. Now Kai's in the corner. St. Peter's shoots off the leg pad of Mormon again, and then the point sends it back in deep around the corner. 13:20 left in the period. Gardner chases after it, sends it around the boards. Now Kai with it. Skates the puck up. Now St. Peter's sends it across the ice into the neutral zone. Young's right there. Young skates up just a little bit and then tries to flip it in deep. Goes off of a rocket and then back into the neutral zone. Now St. Peter's rips one from the point right side and goes off of the pad of Mormon, and then in front of him where he covers it. Marburger Downs and Gross in with, that's not true, Parrish with Follis and Wagner in. St. Peter's sends it in deep again. They've got two guys in front of the net with Follis. St. Peter's ends it up with it and ends up going right of the net. Nice hard shot though. Follis chases after it. Changes direction. Looks to get the pass out at it. And then does so to Parrish, who just gets his stick on it. The Rockets can't seem to get it out of the zone right now. Momentum a little bit in favor of St. Peter's. They have somebody right in front of the net. Now held back at the point again. Shot. Oh, shot goes off the post, I think, or off. Now back to the point again. The Rockets need to get it out of the zone. Struggling right now. St. Peter's now from the point again. Shot. Deflected off Mormon. Another great save. They're rifling shots at Mormon, but he's able to get them. He's been blocking all of them. And now Follis sends it to the other side of the ice so the Rockets can reset. So be icing on the Rockets, but they needed that. They go for a line change, all five guys. Both teams all change up. Giorgio, Hellwig, Alexander in on offense with Salmons and Benoit on defense with 10:44 left in the period. Hellwig on the draw. Sets on the puck, but then Alexander intercepts it, pass back to St. Peter's, and passes it up to Giorgio, but was behind him, so Giorgio really didn't have a chance at it. Now Benoit sends it back deep into the zone. Hellwig goes after it. He's got Alexander in front of the net. Oh, pass to Alexander, but he can't quite get a shot off. Now St. Peter's collects the puck and heads back the other way, where Salmons and Benoit are deep. Now pass to Giorgio. Giorgi sends it to Alexander. Alexander loses it in the zone and ends up back in Salmon's hands, so he passes it. Big check in the middle of the ice after the Salmon's pass. Giorgio needed a break after that one. Benoit sends him outside. Now Gross got 2-on-1, advances up, and gets the goal. Gross just handles it himself, goes all the way down the ice, makes a move, a little backhand, goes over the top, over the goalie's shoulder, I believe. Gives the Rockets a 1-0 lead here in the second period with 9:25 to go. Goal comes off the net, or off the post. Referees reset that and get ready to go here. McLaughlin on the face-off. It ends up back to Gardner. Gardner sends it across the zone. Now St. Peter's. 3 Rockets in front. They rifle one and left the net. McLaughlin comes out with it. He sends it into the neutral zone. Downs chases after it. I guess they're going to call penalty now on St. Peter's. Tripping on St. Peter's. It's going to give the Rockets a power play with 8:50 left in the second. Face-off controlled by the Rockets to Fallis. Fallis sends it deep into the zone. Rauman chases after. He centers it to Kai, but Kai can't get the shot off. Got a guy in between them. The Rockets wait to get back on sides before they can enter the zone again. Now Kai's back on sides. But St. Peter's managed to get the puck in the meantime. They send it in deep. Fallis is there in the corner. He flips it off the boards to Kai. Now Rauman chases after it. Actually, that might have been Wagner. Today they're both wearing the green socks. There's Kai and enters the zone. Aiken's right behind him, tries to get a shot off. Just gets... Now St. Peter's picks up the puck. They're skating fast through the zone. It's going to be offsides on St. Peter's. "19 seconds left in the penalty. Parrish wins the faceoff, sends it back to Salmons. Salmons sends it across to Marburger. Marburger sends it to Parrish. Great passing. They send it back to Marburger. Marburger shoots. And it goes out in front. Now Benoit sends it deep into the zone again. Parrish goes in after it. Now Jansen. And the Rockets lose it. Penalty is over. They rifle. Guy runs out of the penalty box and gets a pass, but can't quite connect and sends it back into the Rockets zone. Now held at the line by Benoit. Great play by him. Now they're heading back the other way. Salmons makes a play. They still get it on net. Now it's going to be icing on St. Peter's. .637 left in the second period. Face off Giorgio to Young. Young rifles it in and goes on net and covered by the St. Peter's goalie. Hellwig on the face-off with Alexander and Giorgio and on the play. Wagner and Gardner, and Young on defense. Now back to Young. He sends it. Two Rockets right in front, but misses both of those on the way through to the goalie who covers. Giorgio back to Young. Young sends it again, wide left this time. The Rockets can't seem to... Well, I was going to say they haven't been able to hit those... I don't know the word I'm trying to find. It's early, I guess. Not that early. Hellwig's able to get it out of the zone. Giorgio chases after him. Rockets back in on sides. Giorgio now to Alexander. Alexander across the ice, but St. Peter's intercepts the pass, and they got two guys going back the other way. Young makes a good play, gets some body in the way. Now Alexander's heading back the other way. Too much stick handling on that one. Now Fallis picks it up, sends it off the boards again. Rockets get back on sides. And Giorgio flips it deep into the zone. Rockets go for a line change minus the defense. McLaughlin in the corner. Now Gross chasing. Whoop, my bad. Gross tries to get a center pass, but it's intercepted by St. Peter's, and they're heading back the other way with some speed. Fallis there. He pushes them all the way outside. Great play.
Yes, Peter, you got it.
Wagner sends one on net, and the goalie covers. 4:19 left in the second period. Face off into the corner. Gross chases after it. Now McLaughlin uses his body to get through the play. Now Fallis sends it again to Gross. Ends up missing Gross and heads around the edge of the boards. Downs going after it. It's going to be elbowing on the Rockets, I guess. At least that's what he called. Called the flying elbow. Not really flying, but That's going to send Wagner in the box for Rockets penalty kill. There were 3:52 left in the second period. Rockets bring in Salmons and Benoit with Kai and Akins. Now from the point they shoot it, gloved and then lost it out of the glove. Now Akins bounces it off the boards after a pass from Kai. Now from the point, they send it to the other point. He sends a pass down low. Benoit's right there to send it up the zone. Now the Rockets kid it back into the neutral zone. Send it down deep for an icing. 2:54 left in the second. Young and Follis come in on defense with Parrish and Ryleman for the last 32 seconds of the penalty kill. Parrish on the faceoff. He sends it back to Follis. Oh! Oops. Now Parrish picks it up out of the corner. Is heading back the other way. He sends it in deep. Ryleman chases after it. 3 seconds left in the penalty kill. Now Parrish sends it back to Young. Young sends one out in front, deflected. Then Follis shoots one. It's also deflected. Jansen now chases after it. Young is down on a knee. Now Parrish makes a play to hold St. Peter's up from getting back deeper into the zone. Good play by him. Now Marburger at center ice. Him and Jansen. Marburger sends it in. Jansen behind the net. Tries to center it. Now Benoit, now Jansen sends it to Hellwig, who passes it up to Jansen again, who centers it to Marburger, who gets a shot off. Great save by the goalie. It's going to be an interference on St. Peter's. Give the Rockets another power play here with a minute left in the second period. Shot from the point from Follis gets deflected out in front. Now Giorgio with it. He circles around, takes a shot. Oop. Wagner sends it back in again. Now Alexander centers it to Hellwig, but can't quite get there. Pinching up Follis. Now Hellwig sends it back over to Giorgio. Tries to center it to Alexander. Alexander down in front of the net. Back to the Follis at the point. He sends it back to Hellwig. Hellwig squirms his way around is what it looked like to me. Now Hellwig by himself in the corner again. He's trying to get it centered. Rockets have Alexander and Giorgio in front of the net. centered right at the end of the period there, but the Rockets can't get a good quality shot on net. With 29 seconds left to go in the penalty, that'll end the second period and give the power play 30 seconds of the power play back into the third. And I didn't say it earlier here before we start the third period. We're playing at the Ice Zone, the former practice facility of the St. Louis Blues, up here in the abandoned mall next to Cabela's, and if anybody's been there in St. Louis. Rockets leading 1-0 to start the third period. Downs, McLaughlin at center, and Gross on the right wing with Salmons and Benoit in on defense. Face off back to St. Peter's. McLaughlin gets there, gets back to it in the neutral zone, and then Salmon sends it across the ice. Now McLaughlin rifles it in across into the corner, and the Rockets chase after it. Downs gets a stick on it and sends it down deep again. McLaughlin, a great stick to hold the St. Peter's team up from going anywhere. And now they head back through the neutral zone. It's Salmons and St. Peter's shot. They get around and get a shot off, and Mormon covers. Young and Gardner come in on defense. Face off by Akins back to the point of St. Peter's. They send one. It gets deflected out in front over the top of the net. Young now to Rauman. Rauman centers it to Akins, and they're going to call a penalty for some reason. They're going to call, I guess, interference. I thought that was kind of a weak call. Just a good check in the middle of the ice. But they called the penalty, so the Rockets going to get another power play here. Follis and Young come in with Rauman, Akins, and Kai. Akins shot and bounces off the goalie and goes in front. Now Follis sends it back deep again. Akins picks it up. He's got Rauman in front of the net. Kai now over in the side. Now he sends it over to Young. Young centers it. Can't quite get a shot off. Follis now shoots it again. Bounces off the goalie's pads. And then St. Peter's ices the puck to the other side of the ice. Hence, icing. Perry shed on the faceoff with Marburger and Jansen. Young and Follis still in on defense. Now Parrish to Young. Young skates it into the zone and shoots it on net where the goalie covers. The Rockets go for a new line with 10 seconds left in the penalty. Benoit, Salmons, Hellwig, Giorgio, and Alexander in on the play now. Face-off controlled by the Rockets back to Benoit, who sends it back into the corner for Hellwig to pick up, and then Alexander's there actually. Now shot from the blue line trickles in for Mormon to glove save and cover. .11:51 left in the third period. St. Peter's off the face-off. Now Salmon skates behind and sends it back over to Hellwig. Rockets can't get it out from behind the net. Back to the point for St. Peter's. He shoots one hard. Glove save by Mormon, who covers for another faceoff inside the Rocket zone. Gross, McLaughlin, and Downs come in on offense with Young and Gardner on defense. Face-off controlled by St. Peter's. Then from the slot, they shoot it. Goes up and over the top of the net. Gardner then sends it up to Gross into the neutral zone. Gross gets... And they're going to call another penalty on St. Peter's. So interference inside at the middle of the ice. They are not being lenient. They're calling pretty much everything on these guys. St. Peter's player is not happy about it. Young and Wagner now in on defense with Parrish, Giorgio. Follis now comes in. Alexander's the other winger. Now back to Follis. Follis sends it into the net, deflected out in front. St. Peter's collects it and sends it back into the neutral zone where Follis picks it up. He sends it off the boards up to Alexander. Alexander flips it in deep. And then the Rockets chase after it. Follis can't quite get over to the blue line boards to hold the puck in. Rockets get back on sides. Now Follis takes it in and shoots it again. Bounces off the goalie in front. Now Giorgio to Parrish. Parrish across the ice to Alexander. And that was offsides and is offsides on the Rockets. Now Salmons and Benoit in on defense with Downs, Gross, and McLaughlin in on offense. Face-off back to Salmons. He sends it deep into the zone. And they chase after it. Gross goes after him. St. Peter's picks it up though. Now Benoit sends one from the point. Gross tries to deflect it in, but can't hit it towards the net. Now back to Salmons. He sends it back to Gross. Gross now over to McLaughlin, but St. Peter's gets a stick on it and slows everything down. Salmons chases behind the net, or after the puck and then behind the net. And the Rockets will cover with 9:33 left in the third. St. Peter's back to full strength now. McLaughlin on the faceoff sends it over to Gross. Gross flips it off the boards. Gloved by the defender and then passed to himself to hold it inside the St. Peter, the Rockets zone. That's going to be a tripping on the Rockets. And it's on Salmons, I guess. Didn't really see. There's a couple players there. I think Gross thought he got the penalty, and then they ended up giving it to Salmons. Not sure. There was about 3 different players that could have done it. I mean, I'm not saying Salmons didn't do it. I just didn't see it.
Go white.
9:19 left in the game. St. Peter's back to their point. He sends it in deep into the corner again. Follis is there. Follis sends it off the boards up to Akins. Killing time here. Good play. Now St. Peter's comes out with it right in front of the net. Now Young comes away with it. He's got Kai with him. He sends it in deep. Bounces off in front of the net. Akins holds the zone. Keeps it in the zone. Now Young shoots it. Whoa! Defender had to duck so he didn't get hit in the head, but it goes way high. St. Peter's shoots one from the right circle, and it gets by Mormon for a St. Peter's goal. It's going to tie the game here with 8 minutes, 8:05, 8:07 really left in the third period. Now Parrish, Marburger, Jansen, Benoit and Salmons back to Salmons there, and Salmons passes it to Marburger, but it's intercepted or deflected out in front. That's going to be offsides on St. Peter's. Benoit rifles it across to Jansen. And then Jansen sends it in. It goes off the stick of St. Peter's. Salmons bodies him up. Then Jansen gets the puck. Now it's Salmons. He tries to make a move, but loses or gets St. Peter's gets a stick on it and slows him down. Gardner gets a check in the corner. Oh, really? They are not letting him play at all. They give Gardner a roughing call for his little check into the boards. Now 7:13 left, and the Rockets are going to go into a penalty kill. They know this is 14U, right? Like, they are not letting them do anything. Now Hellwig in on the face-off. One over to Giorgio. Giorgio's got some space in front of him. He shoots it wide left. Now Falla sends it up to Giorgio again. Giorgio across to Hellwig. Hellwig sends it back into the corner for Giorgio to pick it up. Falls picks up the puck, flips it, tries to flip it to Hellwig, but now it goes back to St. Peter's Point. They get a shot, gets deflected out in front by Giorgio. Now Wagner's in the corner, battling with St. Peter's, who centers it, and it goes all the way through to their point, who sends it back deep into the zone again. Now Wagner. 16 seconds left in the penalty kill. Now Wagner comes away with it. He flips it off the ice and into the neutral zone. Giorgio almost had a chance at a breakaway. Now Wagner with it. Sends it back up the side. Now the power play's over. Giorgio has the puck. Passes to Hellwig. Back to Giorgio, but not a clean enough pass there for Giorgio to hold on to it. Hellwig keeps the puck in the zone, loses his stick. St. Peter's all the way to the other side. Rockets able to keep a goal or a shot from happening. 4:59 left in the game. Hellwig sends it back into the corner again. Now back to the point for St. Peter's. Shot luckily deflected out in front. I don't know if Mormon had a real good eyes on that one, with the 2 or 3 people screening him in front. Now St. Peter's on the corner. Shot. Mormon tried to reach out and grab it but couldn't, so shot saved by Mormon. Now Rockets trying to get it out of the zone. And they do so, actually ends up going on the bench for a dead play with 4 minutes left in the game. Rockets not a lot of pep in their step today. I don't know if it's just late or early. They didn't get their Wheaties this morning or what, but they're not playing as sharp as they usually do, or have been the last few games. Shot goes out in front. Young there, now from the point. St. Peter's Rifles went way left though. Now Gross chases after it. Gross and McLaughlin and Downs there. Now St. Peter's behind the net. They sent it back to the other side where Gardner had cheated over to the center, so as he should be. couldn't hold the zone there. Now McLaughlin. And St. Peter's kicks it back into the zone again. Young chases after it. Now St. Peter's from the point. Shot goes wide left all the way to the other side, and Gross is able to get it into the neutral zone. Chases after it. Pass by St. Peter's. Benoit now in the neutral zone with Salmons. Akins, Rileman, and Gross. Salmons gets checked on the boards. Now he tries to pass it up to Rileman, but not a crisp enough pass. And now from the slot, or now from the circle, St. Peter's made a good pass. Now from the slot, off of Salmons' skate on the way by, misses the net though. Akins sends it over to Rileman. And Rileman sends it up to Kai. Kai's got a chance here. He's got Rileman at center now, in front of the net. He circles all the way around. Sends it to the point where Wagner sends it deep. Now St. Peter's picks it up. 1:45 left. .125 left. Wagner heads after the puck deep in the zone. He passes it off the boards, but it's held in by St. Peter's. Now St. Peter's from the circle makes a shot. It goes wide left, luckily. Alexander enters the ice, and now Akins. They got two people, Akins and Giorgio. Akins. Oh my, Akins, and then Giorgio. Akins had the shot, Giorgio had a chance, and then puck's laying right in front of the net and couldn't quite get it off. 40 seconds. Giorgio centers it. St. Peter's is right there though. Now Parrish from the corner sends it to Giorgio. Tries to center it. Now back to Follis at the point. He rifles one. 17 seconds left in the game. Now Rockets got to get back on sides. Follis sends it in. 0, and that's the end of the game with the Rockets tied with St. Peter's 1-1. Kind of a slow game. They didn't let them play very much. No penalties, or a lot of penalties. But join me for a scrimmage with the 10U team here at 10:50, I believe, if you're into watching some 10U hockey. Talk to you soon.